WNBPA board member Alicia Clark continuing to threaten a strike on the WNBA, even though many players like Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and more have come out and said they think the deal is fine. Compromise needed to be had on both sides. They are ready to play. We want to play. We still have WNBPA board members and decision makers like Alicia Clark threatening fans online, letting it be known, oh no, we still gonna strike. We still can strike.
A WNBPA board member recently took to Twitter to declare that a strike is still on the table. Not a star player who sells out arenas or jerseys, but a board member with the authority to make that call. Despite what the players who actually drive the league's popularity have been saying publicly, the union has once again contradicted itself out loud. Are these board members truly acting in the best interest of all players, or are they protecting their own positions at the expense of the athletes fans actually pay to see? Take a look at the tweet itself, as it offers the clearest window into what's happening inside the WNBPA right now, and share your thoughts in the comments.
Alicia Clark took to Twitter to respond to someone, and I believe this young lady, she reports on WNBA as well. Here, the young lady said, watching everything that came out of Unrivaled Media today, it sounds like a strike is essentially off the table for WNBA players in these CBA negotiations. Okay, and here comes Alicia Clark. Hey, this is not accurate. A strike is still very much on the table.
A reporter covering the WNBA noted that, based on the extensive media coverage, a strike seemed effectively off the table for players in the CBA negotiations. A reasonable conclusion given that multiple players, including some of the union's most prominent leaders, had publicly indicated they wanted to play, believed a strike would harm everyone, and viewed the revenue share milestone as meaningful progress. Then Alicia Clark, a WNBPA board member, responded, saying the report was inaccurate and that a strike remains very much an option. She distinguished between players sharing personal opinions against striking and the strike authorization itself still being valid. Technically, she is correct. Players voted to authorize a strike earlier in the negotiations, and that authorization has not been formally revoked. From a purely procedural perspective, the board retains the power to call a strike regardless of what individual players have said in interviews.
Paige, it's crazy. The people like Alicia Clark who couldn't get nobody to come to games. And I like Alicia Clark. I'm sure she's a nice person. She's had a fine WNBA career. She's a veteran, been around a long time. But it's always the people who can't get 20 people in the gym. It's always the people who ain't selling no jerseys, who ain't moving no numbers, that's threatening this and threatening that and talking about striking and making decisions for the people that's actually the ones bringing the business in, like a Caitlin Clark.
This is the part that should worry every player in the league who has publicly expressed a desire to play, because the strike authorization they approved months ago, when the atmosphere was different and a hardline stance seemed more plausible, is now in the hands of board members who could use it as leverage against a membership that seems to have moved on from that position.
You still have a job in the league, for real. Like, what? Alicia Clark is almost 40. Alicia Clark is lucky to even have a job. She's trying to, that's what I'm saying. You got a lot of these old head veterans trying to collect their last bag on their way out.
The gap between what players are saying publicly and what the board is communicating is no longer subtle. It is not a minor difference in emphasis or tone. It reflects a fundamental disagreement about where these negotiations stand and what the right next step should be. Kelsey Plum has stated that a strike would harm both sides and called the revenue share inclusion a meaningful victory. Paige Beckers has expressed her desire to play and her opposition to a strike. Months ago at USA Basketball Camp, Caitlin Clark emphasized the need for compromise and getting the league back on the court, for which she was labeled anti-union. Across the league, multiple players have sent the same message in various forms. They want to play, believe a deal can be reached, and see a strike as damaging. Meanwhile, Alicia Clark, a WNBPA board member, publicly asserted on Twitter that the strike is still on the table. These positions are fundamentally incompatible. They cannot both be true as presented. Either the players are united behind the board's willingness to call a strike, or they are not, and the public record of the past several weeks clearly shows that they are not.
no worries. I know how you report, so I was just wanting to add some clarity for you. Players expressing personal opinion on not loving the idea of a strike versus it being taken off the table are very different. I know some of the other interviews I've watched also said we're prepared and have been preparing should one be called. Appreciate you always. So she's letting it be known, hey, we us veterans want to strike. And this is what happens when you've been hoodwinked and conned by your board members. Y'all should have never gave them the authorization to strike. Y'all didn't have to give them that at that time. If y'all wanted to strike, y'all could have still talked about it whenever the time came.
The mixed messaging has been one of the most consistent aspects of these negotiations. Breanna Stewart, both an unrivaled co-founder and WNBPA vice president, has emphasized that both proposals still need work, maintaining a sense of urgency and leverage that implies a greater distance from a deal. Kelsey Plum, the other vice president, has conveyed nearly the opposite. Progress has been made, revenue share is real, and a strike would be the worst outcome. These two executive committee members are looking at the same proposals, but offering completely different public narratives about where things stand. That confusion does not benefit the players, it benefits the league. Adam Silver, who set the March 10th deadline specifically to accelerate underlying fractures, watched this play out exactly as he intended. When board members publicly contradict your vice presidents on Twitter, the leverage game has already been lost. The other side no longer has to guess about internal disagreements. They can simply read the timeline. Alicia Clark's tweet is particularly frustrating for the players who are actually driving the league's commercial value. The strike authorization held by the board was granted through a vote. In December, players authorized the board to call a strike if necessary. That vote was cast with full trust in the negotiating committee, as the union itself emphasized, intending to give the board a strategic tool to use only if a work stoppage became the best leverage. What the vote did not fully account for is what happens when the membership's mood shifts, but the authorization itself remains in place. Once the board holds strike authorization, it remains in effect until formally revoked, which requires another vote, another organized player process, and another round of logistics, an effort made especially difficult by the compressed timeline before March 10th. As a result, players who want to play, Caitlin Clark's, Paige Becker's, Kelsey Plum's, and others who have publicly pushed for a deal, are now in the uncomfortable position of having granted the board a powerful tool months ago and watching it pointed at the season while board members insist that everything remains on the table. What was intended as leverage against the league has, in practice, become leverage that certain board members are using against their own players. The players most impacted by this situation are those with the most to lose from a canceled season, not the veterans at the tail end of their careers who are already earning their final contracts, and not the board members whose personal timelines or finances may not be significantly affected by a lost season. The ones who feel the consequences most acutely are the younger players in their prime earning years, the athletes who stand to gain from the salary increases a new CBA would deliver, and those whose professional windows are measured in years rather than decades. At the center of this is Caitlin Clark, more than any other player. She has been the driving force behind the league's recent commercial growth, helping generate the $8 million revenue share payment distributed to players for the first time in WNBA history from the 2025 season. Her presence fills arenas and fuels the league's overall momentum. Her absence leads to a 50% drop in viewership, and the entire rationale behind the new CBA's revenue share model relies on projections that assume the league's commercial growth continues upward, a trajectory directly tied to her ongoing presence and health. Yet board members are threatening a strike that could remove her from the court, relying on strike authorization granted by players under different circumstances to uphold a hardline stance that the broader membership has been publicly moving away from. This is a clear example of organizational dysfunction, leadership failing to represent the people it was elected to serve. Commentators have accurately noted one key point. The players most vocal about striking are rarely the ones drawing the crowds. Those advocating for the most dramatic actions are not the athletes whose absence would be felt most acutely by fans, sponsors, television partners, or the league's revenue projections. This is no accident. It highlights a real tension within the union between players whose leverage comes from their organizational roles and those whose influence comes from their commercial value. Board members wield authority through their positions, while star players exert power through the market. When these two sources of influence clash, the market generally prevails, but the organizational process can inflict significant damage before that balance is restored. The irony is that the CBA under discussion is, by historical standards, genuinely transformative. The salary cap jumping from $1.5 million to $5.75 million in the first year represents a 280% increase, and maximum salaries rising from $249,000 to $1.3 million is far from a minor change. Revenue sharing, implemented for the first time in league history with an $8 million payout already distributed, is a structural shift that reshapes the financial outlook for every player. These are concrete, meaningful gains.